start back on Yanu because that was a one-of-a-kind historic experience. Can you walk me through how those days were for you?
Yeah, Yanu was it was fun, it was tough. It was, when you're first off the boat and you're on the island and you're playing Survivor, some of that stuff really don't bother you, but we did have it rough. Of course, no fire, no food, no machete at some point, no pot. It's rough, but you know, I at least did a 5 day fast before I went out there. So I knew I could go at least 5 days with no food, just water. Now all the other elements, sleeping outside and being cold at night, hot through the day, losing as much as we lost because I was on a team from a kid that never lost. And I went to high school and we didn't lose often, maybe one or two games a year, maybe. And I went to college and we won a lot there. So I wasn't used to just losing back to back to back to back to back like that. And but it was one of those moments of, okay, you make a decision eventually that says, if we have to lose, let's just make sure it's not my torch that's getting snuffed. And it become fun at that point.
Well, we see you make an alliance of six. And
Yep.
then it seemed like you took it so seriously that if anyone went against the six, you then went against them, but then that ultimately was going against the six. Help me to understand that.
Yeah, so that six was really built to protect me and Tiff going in. That was my thinking. How do I get the targets together? And so Tiff and I can know where the votes were going. And we had Kenzie as our basically plus one that they wouldn't have known about, hopefully. That, if we needed to get to a point to where we needed an extra vote to get one of them out, we could. But the six became one of those things that I created to say, if somebody within the six now targets in the six, it gives me permission to fire. It gives me permission to get them up out of here because they broke the rule. There should be no consequence and no understanding of not understanding of why I'm doing it. So it gave me protection on both sides, quote unquote, in a sense, is what I thought. And what I had for a very, very long time. You got to think back for 17 days in a row, I was in control. Everything was moving the way I wanted it to move. Make a mistake on day 18 that lasts 3 or 4 days, and then here we go. You know what I mean? So the six was not the problem. It was the people within the six that was not willing to really take it seriously as I would. And they didn't know how serious that I was willing to take it. Neither.
So is that where, I mean, I was surprised that you revealed to Maria that Tiffany was saying her name and that she had an idol. Did the six sort of move ahead of your relationship with Tiff?
Yeah.
What was going on
So,
there?
so, so yeah, because the relationship that we could have built within the six would be much stronger than the relationship I can build with the one. And I wanted to understand, okay, if the person that I bring in is making a mistake, and it wasn't like Tiff brought up Maria's name just to me and no one else knew about it. That's the case, I would try to talk to Tiff too. No, Tiff would bring it up to other people. So eventually it was going to get back to people within the six. So I had to go ahead and get in front of that train and say, you know what? I brought Tiff in. She's going against the rules. And here it is. We're going to make an example out of it. And because if I don't stand up and say, let's go, Tiff, now it gives everybody else permission just to do the same thing because they're like, oh, well, Q brought Tiff in. She's not abiding by the six. Why should we? I could not have that. I did not want that. So the second she didn't do it, I had to try to make an example out of her just to get closer with these other four people.
Mm.
It's a numbers game.
Right. So taking us into that tribal, I know you weren't quitting, otherwise you would have got
Oh,
up and walked out.
correct.
But to hear you say, I made a mistake, go ahead, you guys can vote me out, was that feeling bad about the reveal of Tiffany's
No, no,
idol?
no. That had nothing to do with Tiff. Tiff made a mistake as well, or Tiff, now I wouldn't say a mistake. She gave me reason to target her. All right. But the other thing that happened is, so before that tribal, we're trying to get the vote together, and Liz is very, very happy about this Tevin deal. I mean, she's over the top happy, she's joyful. And then I go tell Hunter about it. And I tell Hunter, like, hey, unless you have an idol, there's nothing we can do. Tevin's going home. Let's not write Tiff's name down tonight and reveal our cards. Then he goes and he runs and he talks to Liz. Now all of a sudden, Liz is crying. Not just like boo-hoo crying, and she's just like, okay, I'll just do whatever y'all want. I have 4 little sisters. That rubbed me the wrong way. Like on a personal level, like, wait, she was just so excited about her plan. Now she's crying, just saying she'll do whatever we want her to do. That's not right. And it's because of me. I should have never told Hunter. Should have never tried to protect him. And boom, here we go. But then also, I was feeling bad because Tevin is within the 6. And I have yet to even notify him that his name was on the block. I have yet to even do the right thing about him when I created the 6. I brought him in. I accepted him. So it's one of those things like I'm feeling bad for 2 different reasons. And in my everyday life, if I make a mistake, I raise my hand. Just like when I fumbled. In my high school, we have to run sprints for every single point that we lose by. We lost by 6 points. And for me, the next day, I raised my hand and told coach, I will run the 6 sprints for every single player on the team. Why? Because I fumbled. I felt like in the game, I made that mistake. I screwed up, and I should somewhat suffer the consequences. Now, me offering is me doing the right thing. My coach could have said, no, you're not running all the sprints. Everybody get back on the line. That's what it is. But I actually had to run those sprints for them, which I was willing to accept that. If they would have voted for me, I would have been okay with accepting it. I was not trying to quit. Come on now.
Yeah. So that leads us to like multiple tribals here where you become the smoke screen. It's all about you. I mean, you're a strong personality. I have to imagine that's hard to just hear over and over again. How did you handle those tribals?
Well, it's one of those things of now the attention is on me. I brought the attention on me. And since I've done that, I have to be willing to, again, suffer the consequences with it. There's no need to mope around and complain and why me and you guys are so me. No, I stepped out there. I did that. Let's deal with the consequences. And the consequences was that. But see, the problem is these folks were so fascinated with me that it led to all of their demise. So one person, if you look back from the start of the game, I controlled the Zelensky vote. I got Jess to play the fake idol. I convinced her to do that. Banu, everybody was on board. Randon, I had nothing to do with. Tim, Mo, all of these folks went home because I said they're going home. Period. Now you fast forward to where I'm not the person saying you're going home, but I'm still the reason you're going home. Name one player ever that has that much impact on that many votes.
I mean, you were a star of the season. I mean,
Well, I appreciate it.
you were so entertaining. Your confessionals were just like delicious. But now we got to talk about this t-shirt because is that the
Yeah.
is there one big mistake that we can point out to not playing this idol?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, you looking back on it now, it's like it's a big mistake because you didn't play it. But let me just tell you where my head was.
Mhm.
I knew at that point in the game, it was 2 things. If I make it past that vote, I automatically make it to the final 3. Why? Because there was nobody left there that could beat me in fighting. Like it wasn't even close. I would have smoked them. All right. Then I was thinking, okay, there's Charlie. He's won 2 immunities. He's not pissed anyone off. He's been in the know of all the votes. He's likable. Maybe they'll wake up and get Q out of their mind and say, you know what? On paper, in a perfect survival world, this is the guy that's going to beat you. So it was one of those things of like, okay, betting on the situation of, do I play it at 6 and then have to come back at 5 and fight to try to stay in it again? Or do I just say, you know what? Either I'm going to go out at 6 or I'm going to make it to 3. And I rolled the dice to say, I'm going to go out at 6 or make it to 3. And I'll make that decision again, given the circumstances. Now, one thing that would have changed all of this, if Maria would have came to me and said, Q, I just want you to know, Charlie is actually pushing for you to be the vote, I would have played my idol. Or I would have at least caused a storm that would have spooked Charlie now from voting for me. Because I would have pulled it out or something and be like, you think you're voting me out, but here's to go. I'm writing your name down. So if you write my name down, buddy, guess what? You're going home. I would have done something like that. But Maria did not come to tell me that valuable information. And that's the thing in the game. Like, the conversations you think that don't matter, because she didn't tell me because she thought she had the girls in her pocket. She thought, okay, the girls are with me. There's no need to even ruffle Q's feathers about this, but she should have. She should have ruffled my feathers. And let me just say, it would have been a much more exciting tribal council than what it was.
Oh, I bet. I bet. So now that you've had some time to process all of this, can you sum up what this whole experience was for you?
This whole experience for me has been something that I would have never gone through now in my life. Why? Because you have the highs. I was in control. I was the guy for 17 days, and then boom, rock bottom. To feel alone, to feel like you have to fight, you have to grind, you can leave today, everything is gone like that. To start to rise back up, day 21, 22, 23, I was starting to rise back up and get some control and power on what was going on. The Venus, I pushed the Venus vote. That was me. The Tiffany vote, Maria brought it up, but it was brought up to Maria from me at Applebee's. I then had to put on a show for Tiff to be so confident that, okay, maybe it's Q, and I caused all these distractions. So, I did all of that as well, but it's one of those things, it was like, in my everyday life now, I come from nothing. I've worked so hard to build everything up to where, like, in a perfect world, nothing can go wrong in my world. Like, in the worst day possible, it will never, ever put me down to that moment in the game to where I was feeling like I'm alone. I'm at rock bottom again. Like, there's literally nothing, because everything that I've built in my life is really, really built on solid foundations. If it crumbles, that means the world crumbles. So I was able to feel that again, and I was reminded that it can be taken away from me like that if I'm not focused enough, if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not careful. So that was the moment that I'm most excited about. But also just being able to be on you guys' screen, for 12 weeks to show me. I played me. I was Q from day one all the way to the end. I was unapologetic. I was not trying to be something that I wasn't. I heard people out there say that they wanted to vote people out because they would get more screen time. That was never my prerogative. I was never worried about screen time. I was never worried about making all these crazy Q skirts and Council Christmas and all this stuff, big mistake. I was just being Q. So what you guys are witnesses and what you're seeing is a guy just being himself. And it's so amazing for me to just go back and watch.
I mean, no one was going to get more screen time than you. That's the way it is. Thank you so much for your time today, Q.
I appreciate you, Sarah.